Hello and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica, and this podcast is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. It is great to be back doing a podcast. This is episode number 120, and I'm very excited to be talking about, as always, my journey and the things that I'm going through right now and sharing that with you. One of the biggest things I think for me is, and it could be too because it's towards the end of the year and looking back at things, but, where are we going? Where am I going with my business? A funny thing is that when I first started, everything I did, just like this podcast, was based around me becoming a full-time voiceover artist. And the funny thing is, I never thought past that particular moment of, becoming full-time, quitting my job, having all the equipment and the studio I wanted and all of these things. So now that I'm here, I'm kind of looking around saying, wow, I've got everything. Now what? So with that in mind, we're going to talk about some of my thoughts and those things and what I think you should be doing with my current situation, looking back on things that if I could tell myself about 18 months or 2 years ago, I would. All right, let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. It is great to be doing another podcast. What's interesting is, and I have to tell you this, as I grow my business and as you grow yours, you'll find that, and you might already be there, that there is only so much time in a day. There's only so many things that we can do. And also there's only so many things at one time that our minds can, mull over or comprehend or work towards. And I think, when we are first starting out, that is a lot easier to focus on one or two things because those one or two things really are the only things that we have to focus on at that moment. But I want to talk about kind of, like I said in the intro to this, when I first started about, I guess it's been about 18 months ago. Well, we'll go with the podcast. But, before that, when I just started even in the business, the whole goal I always had was to become full-time at this. And that became this driving force in my life to be a full-time voiceover artist, to have a whisper room, to have expensive equipment, to have a big old computer and monitors, and to have a room that was totally decked out, and, to have my own YouTube show and to have all of these things. And I look right now where I am today, and I look back and at where I was then, and I think, gosh, I accomplished every goal that I set out to accomplish, right? And I'm like, wow, that's really awesome. And I'm not saying this right now to like pat myself on the back, but moving forward, and what I want to talk to you tonight about is that after realizing, in the last month or so, that I've really accomplished these goals, I think what's hit me is, where do I go from here? So I think all of us are different people inside. I mean, what I mean by that is all of us have these different voices. And I think all of us, right, we are predominantly one more than others. Now, I think a lot of that comes down to three different voices in our business, right? And I kind of use this from some books I've read and things, but and all of us, in a business sense, you can kind of look at our different voices as maybe being an entrepreneur, being a technician, and being a manager. Many of us in our current jobs that we're in, we're one of these roles. Most likely we are either managers or the technicians, all right? We wouldn't be the entrepreneurs, or, we probably would own the business. But we all have these voices inside of us. But based on who we are and our makeup, one of these voices is usually dominant over the other ones. And depending on what voice is dominant determines what, you focus a lot of your time on. I think, as an entrepreneur, that voice inside of you, that voice is a lot about the dreams and the visions and the ideas and the new and unique and different ways of thinking and coming up with solutions and starting new things, the vision, right, of the future and what could be possible. So nothing would ever be created without an entrepreneur mind, because nothing would ever be imagined or thought up. Right? But then we have the manager. And I think from a manager standpoint, if you think of the manager, well, the manager is a person who formulates all of the tasks, all of the organizational things that need to be put together in order to run all of the different, important facets of your business or of any organization. They are the people who keep everybody running and every client happy, everything running smoothly. Without managers, nothing would be organized, nothing would be possible, because there would be just chaos. All right. So managers are so important to any business. And then, of course, we have the technician. And the technician, they want to do the work. They pride themselves in a job well done, and they want to go to work, do it, don't deal with any crap from anybody else, really. They just want to do what they do because they know they're good and they know they can do it. They don't need any help. They don't need, like suggestions, because they feel like other people probably mess it up. And once they do their work and they work really hard at it, they want to go home and they want to leave it there, and that's that. Nothing would ever be done without a technician, right? Because technicians are the one that actually do the physical work that needs to be done day in and day out. So these three voices, I think, are prevalent in all of us. The question is which voice is prevalent in you? And if you determine that, I think it's easy for you to see where you are right now in your life and in your business. So for me, I am definitely more entrepreneurial than I am the other two by far. My second probably strength would then be the technician because of the work. And my last one would probably be the manager. That's not my strength. But I am a visionary, or I like to think that I have ideas. I like to look at the future. I like to come up with ways and unique ways to change things, to experience new things, to not have fear going in, blind, trying out what has not been done before. I like that. I enjoy it. It inspires me. However, I am not a manager, so a lot of times, many things in the past have always been kind of stopped, meaning that, you get, entrepreneur is great because you need those ideas and those visions, but if you don't have anyone to actually put a structure or a back or a foundation to any of it, and then a way to make it actually come to reality, nothing ever happens. So anyways, and then of course the technician part, I definitely can put my head down and get work done. So for me, that is a big cry inside of me to, always be thinking of new ways of doing things, new possibilities, inspiring people with a vision, with a place to go, what is possible for them in their future, as well as myself. So what I found is with my business, and then if you take a step back and you look at your business, depending on where you are and what you're doing, that voice, that dominant voice, has led you to the place that you are and the standing that you have, whether it's organization, whether it's, your sales, whatever. So for me, what's happening now is that I've come to like a fork in the road. And it's a good fork. It is a good fork. But, I told you a long time ago when I started this podcast that it was about me telling you my journey. And I remember when I did the episode where it was me going full time, the podcast. And I know up to that point, I had talked a little bit about starting to just briefly think about the fact that, oh crap, I am going to be a full time. What do I do now? Or, I've got to think about sustaining the business and then growing it, right? Because there's got to be, you got to have fuel for anything to continue to go. And if you don't keep adding fuel, it will eventually die out, right? If you want to use that analogy, I like that analogy the best. So now that I'm here and I'm looking back, I'm thinking, okay, well, there is a fork in the road that I am at. And it is a great place to be, but it's where I physically cannot do more. Meaning that, like right now, again, it's 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm still working. And the funny thing is when I first started out doing this, as you all remember, I worked from 6 a.m. to about 5 or 6 p.m. every day at a job. And then I would come home, spend time with my family, start working at 10, and then work to about 2 or 3 in the morning. Now, I literally work from about 7 or 8 in the morning to 5, and then spend time with my family, and then work from 10 till about 1 or 2. I don't work as late. I don't stay up till 3 as like I used to. I stay up pretty much till midnight or 1 now doing this work. But I have added those 10-hour extra hours a day to how much I was working, on top of the 4 or 5 hours I'm working at night or so. And it's just interesting to me that now that I've done that, my income has increased exponentially. I mean, from going from last year to making $20,000 in 2018 to making over 6 figures in 2019, that's quite a jump. And at this point, I realized I am now physically tapped out when it comes to my time. So with all this being said, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I'm now looking down the road and I'm thinking to myself, I've created a business model where I could go in all sorts of different directions. I can continue my voice acting career, which I love. I can also continue working on my coaching business, which I love. I can also continue working on building out, my courses, which I love. I enjoy that, I also love working on people's demos. I love helping them there. There's so many different parts of my business. I love editing and mastering other people's work. And, I love adding, just my own little twist on what other people do. And so there's all these different directions. And I think for me, what I'm trying to figure out now too is, where is it that I want to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if I could go back and talk to myself back then, 2 years ago or whatever, when I started my business, I would probably start off by saying this very thing that I'm starting to do now. And that is to plan for a business that is going to be more than just myself. And now listen, this is just me. And of course, that's what this podcast is about, my journey and how I can help you with some insight about what I'm going through and hopefully give you some ideas and thoughts. So you might not feel like you want to do that. You might feel like you really enjoy working by yourself and you want to make 6 figures. And I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely possible because I'm doing it. I've done it. So I can tell you for certain that yes, it is possible. But if you are a person who wants to go further than that, where do we go from here? And that's what I've been really thinking a lot about the last couple of days, the last week, last 2 weeks. I've really been starting to step back and look at my business in a way that I've not looked at it before. For the longest time, you guys, I've been literally just waking up in the morning, and I've set up some things. I have put into place processes. They're good, but they're not great, but they're good. These processes where I have been able to wake up and have consistent work to be done when it's voice work. I've also have, a variety of you all that I talk to on a daily basis. And many people message me. I do social media work every single day, videos. These podcasts aren't as much as they used to be, but, I still do a couple of them a week or so. And, so I'm busy every single day. And then I have coaching at night, some during the day, calls with different people across the country and the world. I'm on calls, and, I'm doing a lot of different things. And I think that I never considered the possibilities of going further than just this. Not because I don't have, dreams or aspirations, but just because the goal was to get here. So now for me, I am definitely looking down the road and thinking to myself, wow, what kind of life would I like to live? And I'm going to ask you that question too. What kind of life do you want to live? And I know this whole thing tonight is more like a philosophical thing and conversation about our business, but to me, it's important to think like this. And what I was saying is that I'm thinking about my business from the standpoint of a business and a strategy and how my business as a whole works, not just how I come and wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, just doing the technical work. And I imagine many of you are doing the same thing right now, because that is what we do. And let's be completely honest about some things. Fiverr, which I love, even voices.com, any of these online sites, no matter whether they're pay to play, no matter whether they're just open freelance sites, they themselves have built businesses. Voquent, they have built businesses. Those businesses have processes and systems, and they leverage us, right? They leverage us in order to build their business. I'm okay with it because, people businesses like Fiverr and Voquent and them, they bring us work. And in some cases, lots of work. All right. Which is wonderful, which I love. But at the same time, if you step back and you think and you look about it, right, that is growing our business only to a point. Because we cannot determine where to grow on those platforms without those platforms deeming us, king of the hill or queen of the hill. I am not going to sit here and tell you guys that being a top-rated seller doesn't have anything to do with the large amount of money I make on Fiverr. I can specifically show my numbers on a chart that show from the moment that I was level 2 to when I went to top-rated seller, the 200 to 300% increase in money that I made on Fiverr. Okay, from $2,000 to $3,000 a month to $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month on Fiverr every month. That is incredible. But that is just because I was able to work that system and become a top-rated seller. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about it, right? I love helping people grow and people do well on, and I think that is a viable place to make a lot of money, and there are many people who are, just like me. But as I'm looking forward to, I'm looking past this, and I'm also thinking, well, I've done this now. Well, now what? I've gotten to a place on Fiverr myself where it's great. It brings in money. It brings in a lot of money for me. But I'm really dependent on Fiverr. And if I wanted to create that sort of business off of Fiverr, I don't have any of those processes personally set up. And of course, I try to give you full disclosure of what I'm doing. Now, do I have an idea of what I could possibly do? Sure. But because I've been so busy on the technical work, meaning like the stuff I have to do every single day just to keep up with the current work that's coming to me, strategizing, brainstorming, figuring out methods around my limitations of myself have not been a priority. And I wonder for yourself too, if you've thought about that and if any of that's happening to you. And it could be happening differently for you, meaning like maybe all your time is spent auditioning. Maybe all your time is being spent trying to figure out your sound quality. Maybe all your time is trying to figure out, what platform is the best for you, or how to navigate Fiverr, or how to navigate Voice123, or why can't you get something through Voice Bunny, and their team. All of these different things that we are trying to figure out. Why doesn't my emailing work? Why can't I seem to get any character work? Why is all this? It seems like, there's so much video games out there, but I can't seem to do a darn one. We spend all of this time doing technical work, putting out things, but how much time are we actually spending figuring out ways, new ways, creative ways, more entrepreneurial ways to solve these problems? I don't know. I know for me, not very much. And I have been changing that recently and really shifting my thought process. I have formulated ideas about what I want my business, or Anthony Pica Productions LLC, to be down the road. I mean, for example, what if I wanted to continue to work with the amazing amount of you all out there as voice actors who are absolutely incredible and so talented and work so hard? Well, I used to get contacted all the time from voice actors asking me, like, if I could get them work. Well, what if I became an online agency like I talked about before, but approach an agency from the standpoint of doing, the online aspect that many agencies with people up front and center don't do these days, right? We have the online websites that we all know, and then we have agencies where they are not necessarily online, they are more offline. Well, maybe there's that. Or maybe, maybe I have a business with 10, 20, 30 employees. And what would that be like? What would that even mean? Maybe I have a studio. I build out a new type of studio, a studio for the future that focuses on being able to run a studio, but it being completely, a new creative way of linking with voice actors online and being able to bring business to them, or being able to coach them, or maybe coming up with a franchise. There's so many different possibilities in my mind, because that's how my mind works. And when I'm at a place where I am now, which is really wonderful, and again, this is just me. Many people, I know a lot of people would be very happy to be exactly where I am, and I'm very happy. But me as who I am, I don't know. I think I would like to continue to grow and see, if I can get to that ultimate lifestyle that, I want to get to. And defining that lifestyle is so important. You know what I mean? Is it the technical work that you want to do every day? And if that's so, and you like that, that's great. But maybe you don't want to do the technical work every day. Maybe you want to be that entrepreneur thinker every single day, that you are coming up with new ideas and new ways to, help people grow their businesses or grow their, maybe you like to be someone who trains your team to help work with other people. I never thought about any of these things when I first started out. And this might be a place where you in your career or your business, you're kind of like, Anthony, what in the world are you smoking? But I think for me, these are just my thoughts and things that are going through my mind. And it's funny because, I do the local show, isn't that funny? I do the, the YouTube show, the YouTube live. And what's interesting is now that I do that Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. on YouTube, I've talked a lot more about the technical things on that. And the podcast has, kind of gone down some with how much I've been producing because I'm producing so much of that content. But honestly, the real reason too is because one, time, but two, it's because, the podcast has always been my journey from wherever I am in my business, talking to you about it, about my dreams and my hopes and my wishes and where I am right now with things and what I plan on doing and all the trials and the tribulations and all that jazz, right? So, I have been kind of confused about where to go, from this point, because I could just stay where I am and make a wonderful income and be just fine. And that's true as well. But that's also not who I am. If I don't keep adding fuel, right, I'm going to peter out, if you will. So anyways, I don't know if tonight's episode hopefully has helped you with some ideas about trying to maybe just look down the road for yourself and see exactly where you want to go. I can tell you now with absolute certainty, if your goal is to be a full-time voiceover artist, that's a wonderful goal, and it is completely possible. But just know that once you become a full-time voiceover artist, then what? There's a whole nother world. And hopefully, if you do this right, okay, and you're working hard, it shouldn't take you more than a few years to replace your income. We live in a digital age right now where if you are savvy enough, if you want it bad enough and search for it, or ask me or work with me, I'll help you do it. You can figure out how to replace your income. But once you do that, what about the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life? What are you going to do with your business now that you have it? Right? So, I don't know. Those are just these thoughts. And if you are just stopping your planning at becoming full-time, I want to tell you, start thinking beyond that. Start thinking beyond that. Because it is not a pie in the sky thing. It's a reality. You can become full-time, and if you want it bad enough, you will do it. But what about after that? All right, you guys, I don't know. I'm sure this has been a weird podcast, but hopefully it's been somewhat insightful to you and on your journey, and also maybe just to give you a moment and hopefully inspires you a little bit for at least a few minutes to think strategically, to think creatively, to think a little differently about your business instead of our constant day in and day out, mundane technical work of just doing the voice work over and over again, because we are also business owners. And I don't know about you, but I love being a business owner. It is fun. And it's fun because I get to do this. I get to be creative. I get to look at the future, and then I actually have control over what I want to make my future look like. You all, that's exciting. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. As always, please, if you like, take a moment to leave a review You're gonna say, man, that Anthony's a crackpot. But hopefully, again, this has been insightful and helpful for you guys. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful night. Remember, on Fridays now, which is really cool, we are going to be interviewing voice actors from around the world. And we have a really cool guest coming up Friday, which you will find out. And I'm really excited about that. So thank you guys so much. You have a wonderful night. I will talk to you later. Peace.